students, so under Kingdom Plantae we had started with systems of classification and we had completed branches of taxonomy. Now we are going to do the classification of plants as given by Bantham and Hooker in their natural system of classification. So we are doing Bantham and Hooker's classification of plants. In this, Kingdom Plantae was divided into two groups. As you know, there are 5 types of plants: algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms and angiosperms, isn't it? These 5 types of plants were divided into 2 groups on the basis of whether or not they produce seeds. As such, algae, bryophytes and pteridophytes were placed in this first group and gymnosperms and angiosperms went into the second group because they are the ones which produce seeds. The others do not. So the first group was called Cryptogame and the second group was called Phanerogame, wherein crypto means hidden, game means marriage, phanero means open and game marriage. Close marriage, open marriage. What does this mean? The product of marriage, okay, that is sexual reproduction, which is seed, is seen in those. As such, the marriage is open, but over here the product of the marriage is hidden or invisible, hidden marriage. Non-seed bearing plants and seed bearing plants. Seed bearing plants are also called as spermatophytes. Sperma means seed. Under Cryptogame were included 3 types of plants which become the divisions. These are the subkingdoms: algae, bryophyta, pteridophyta. Under Phanerogame are included gymnospermae, angiospermae. Gymnospermae also bear seeds, angiospermae also bear seeds. But what is the difference? Gymnospermae bear naked seeds. They are called naked seed bearers. Naked seeded. Whereas in angiospermae, the seed is enclosed by a fruit wall. Why is it covered by a fruit wall? Because the ovule from which the seed formed was covered by a flower. They are also called as flowering plants. At the time of Ice Age, the predominant division on earth was gymnosperms. Okay, there will be all pine trees, conifers. If you have seen the movie Ice Age, you might realize the earth was covered by ice, and gymnosperms at that time were more predominant on the Ice Age earth. But then as the earth started becoming warmer, the angiosperms took over the gymnosperms, and at this point of time, angiosperms are the most predominant division on earth. So evolution, you have to write like this. This is the line of evolution. So as you can infer, the least evolved plants are algae, then come the bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms and angiosperms. Just like for animals, how life originated in water and then they came out of the water and became amphibians and then further moved away from water onto farther lands and became terrestrial reptiles, and then the reptiles evolved further into birds and mammals. Just like animals, for plants as well, life has begun in water. Algae are mainly aquatic, and then the plants came out of the water but on the sides of the stream and wherein they were in contact with water and became amphibians of the plant kingdom, that is the bryophytes. Then they moved further away but still needing water. Nevertheless, the first terrestrial plants, pteridophytes. When plants were in water, they could attain much height and there was no need of xylem and phloem for conduction. Water was very abundant in water and there was no require of phloem as well. But they did have phloem-like cells, just no conducting tissues were available at that point. And then they became bryophytes. When they became bryophytes, it's not like they could attain great heights outside water. They had to be very small sized because they had to be close to the surface of the ground to be able to absorb water from the soil. Okay, because xylem and phloem were not advanced, so the heights that they could attain were very small. They are very small plants, bryophytes, like mosses. Then further away, when they moved on the land and became pteridophytes, they started gaining some heights. They became ferns, and the size of tall tree also was first attained in pteridophytes. And then came the gymnosperms, which could attain great heights. The tallest tree on earth is a gymnosperm. But they were dominant during the Ice Age, like I told you. And then on the present day earth, what is dominant is the angiosperms. So algae, if you call them as aquatic, then bryophytes are said to be amphibians of plant kingdom. These are called as the first terrestrial plants. They are also called as the first tracheophytes, wherein tracheophytes means what? Having xylem and phloem. Xylem and phloem was first developed in the pteridophytes. That's why they were called as the first tracheophytes. And then gymnosperms also had xylem and phloem, and so does the angiosperms. Bryophytes did not have xylem and phloem. They were called as the first embryophytes. Why are bryophytes called as the first embryophytes? Is because if you remember, for fungi, the main body of the organism was haploid. Along with the fungi are included the algae under Thallophyta. So even for algae, the main plant body is haploid. In fungi also, the 2N generation had formed when there was karyogamy. The zygote was formed, but immediately that zygote had undergone meiosis. It never underwent mitosis. In ascomycetes, it undergoes meiosis and then mitosis. Remember, to form 8 nuclei. The 2N cell did not undergo mitosis. The moment the zygote divides and forms another 2N cell, that becomes an embryo. So what had fungi done? The moment the 2N cell was formed, it had undergone meiosis to bring back the haploid generation. The cells formed after meiosis will then divide and form the fungal haploid body again. For algae as well, the main plant body is haploid, and the diploid generation, which is the diploid zygote, it never undergoes mitosis. It only undergoes meiosis. As a result, there is no embryo formation in case of the algae. However, in bryophytes, we see that the zygote is now undergoing mitosis divisions and forming embryo and forming a substantially large 2N generation. That's why they are called as the first embryophytes. As in how evolution is happening, the plants are becoming more and more diploid. Angiosperms are all diploid. The main plant body is diploid. But for algae, the main plant body is haploid. So this is the Bantam and Hooker classification of plants. In this chapter, we will be studying each of these division in more detail. We will be starting with algae first.
महादेव के नाम पे सब्सक्राइब कर दें।